Hey folks, I think I'm gonna start doing kind of this vlog thing. I'm, yeah, why the hell not? It gives me an outlet to produce some content that's easy to do, and I don't have to worry about editing it a bunch the way I do with the podcast, or the way I want to with like more important videos. This is just gonna be kind of like a daily journal, kind of ideas, things that are rolling around in my head every day or every week, whenever I get around to doing this. I'm not going to stick to any strict format. I know a while ago I was doing videos for like gym reviews and like random skeptical topics, and that didn't really go anywhere. But I know I drive to and from work 4 hours a day. I spend, like I say, 4 hours a day in my car when I'm on shift, and I spend countless hours out here working by myself, thinking about things, reading articles, reading books. So I figured I might as well, throw some random thoughts out into the internet world. You can tell I'm a bit of a, little bit of a farmer. The way I think. Sometimes I suppose some people might figure it's a little slower than others, but yeah, just kind of thinking today. Something that occurred to me was the way that some people talk about trans issues, like transgender issues. I encountered a guy not that long ago who was arguing about gender and how there's only two genders. And I argued against him to the point, like, of saying, like, supporting people in who they are is the way to better society. It's good for equal rights. Everything is good about letting people be the gender they are without enforcing your idea of a binary onto them. And obviously it went back and forth the way these conversations do. Oh no, there's only two genders, one guy says, and I said, well, no, that's actually technically, gender is a social construct as well. Even if you're talking about sex, there's still multiple sexes depending on chromosome combinations and various other things. I'm not a geneticist, but I've read a few articles by geneticists who talk about multiple types of gender. I've listened to biologists who talk about sex and how there's multiple sexes in a way. Like there's people who grow their whole lives as men, but then find out that they have unformed or like there's various types of intersex people is what I'm trying to get at. And one of the things that these guys like to bring up is increased suicide rates among transgender people. They use that as an argument that it's a mental illness. And I think one of the things that I noticed is that I can say, okay, there are mental illnesses that occur with people who are transgender because body dysphoria is a type of mental illness. The treatment for which, though, to the best of my knowledge, is gender reassignment surgery or hormone treatment. But people don't want to hear, like, that are against trans rights, don't want to hear that side of the argument. They want it to be more like, oh, well, being transgender is the mental illness. And they talk about suicide rates among trans people as evidence of transgender being transgender being a mental illness. And I don't know. It seems to me like, because I brought up except the fact that people treat trans people poorly and society pressures them to be something they're not. And in the same way that society like might pressure like boys and girls to fit into certain binary roles, they pressure trans people to fit into those roles, whether they should or not. And because of the dysphoria they experience. And I mean, this is all just stuff that I've talked to plenty of trans people. I've read many articles on this. I feel a deep empathy towards trans issues and the things that people who are transgender face. And it's the pressure that society puts on them. It's the depression from being rejected and told that you're wrong and being told that you're bad that causes these suicidal tendency like trends. And I mean, I guess it's probably hard for somebody like me to draw a direct cause effect correlate like line, but it stands to reason that if all of society is telling you that you're bad and wrong and that there's something wrong with you, and in addition you get like hardcore assholes bullying you and not just like and beating you up when you're young and like treating you awfully on a daily basis, this sort of thing could easily cause someone to feel suicidal. I mean, many teens go through that sort of thing anyway if they don't fit into a very strict standard of what people expect. At least in my area, like I know like growing up, things were when I was growing up, things were very strict. Like you had to be in these kind of person, or you were that kind of person, and if you didn't fit in, then those kind of the mainstream people, they didn't like you. They picked on you. And I find that based on what my own kids have experienced, there's still some of that. Maybe things are better than they were, but there's still some of that. And it's probably, I mean, I imagine that it's 10 times, or, you know, it's twice as hard, or there's an increment more that one experiences when one is actually experiencing this dysphoria as well. And to me, it just makes sense to support people as they are, and instead of pressuring them to be something they're not, and instead of saying there's only two genders and being all binary about it, it makes sense to me to just say, okay, I accept you for who you are. I deal with you the way you want. I will use the pronouns you prefer. I will call you the name you want to be called, because I respect people as they are, not as I want them to be. I don't know. Just something that's rolling around in my head today. Also, I mean, Trump's awful. Tweeted something racist about South Africa today, and just to distract from the fact that he's a criminal and he's an awful president. Here in Canada, we've got Justin Trudeau as our premier, or our prime minister. Sorry. And Andrew Scheer apparently didn't like the way he handled this heckler who was apparently a well-known racist, and Justin Trudeau dealt with the heckler the way one does. So, I don't know. Things are pretty fucked up. Yeah. But I'm at work, so I better get to work. Thanks for watching.